Hello all, my name is Toipan Datta and today I am going to discuss a new topic on time series. This is the second session on time series and if you haven't gone through my previous session, I will request you all to please go through it. It will help you to understand the ACF and PACF and it which will be helpful in the later part of this series. The link will be given in the description box. In this session, I will discuss about stationarity, different types of stationarity, and also the statistical tests which are conducted to detect whether there is a stationarity or not. So, let's begin. See, stationarity means the time series in which all the statistical properties like mean, variance, covariance will not depend on time and it will remain constant. But in most of the practical cases, it is seen that the series is not stationary. We have to make it stationary. It is seasonal or cyclic or trend, and so the series is not stationary. Thus, we can say that if a series contains trend or seasonality or cyclic order, then it cannot be considered as a stationary series. Now see, in this graph, as we move this cursor, you can see the mean is almost same, and by viewing the graph we can say that the variance is also constant over time. So we can say that this is stationary. But here see, it is showing a cyclic order, so we cannot consider this as a stationary series. Now, what are the different types of stationarity? Actually, there are 5 types of stationarity. The first one is the strict stationarity, second one is first order stationarity, then second order stationarity, then trend stationarity, and the last but not the least, the difference stationarity. This difference stationarity is the easiest among all. Actually, all are easy, but this comparatively difference stationarity is much more easier than the other 4. Now, what is strict stationarity? Now, strict stationarity means that if xt is a strictly stationary, if and only if the joint distribution of xt1, xt2, xt3 up till xth is the same as xt1 plus h, xt2 plus h up till xtk plus h, right? In other words, we can say that the joint distribution does not depend on the time difference but on age. See here, this can be represented by xt. Now, first order stationarity. The first order stationarity says that the mean remains same, but other statistical property like variance will change with time. Now, if we give a deeper dive into the mathematical part, we can say that xt is a stochastic process and nth of the stationarity of xt will be given if and only if every set of the times, that is t1, t2, t up till tn, we have a joint cumulative density function. Now, we all know and we have all learned in our school days and even in our junior college days, first year maybe, that what is this joint cumulative function. If you want me to make a separate video on this, please comment in the comment section below. I will make a separate video on that. Now, second order stationarity. The second order stationarity can be also almost defined by this above definition, that is this one. Just a little bit of change. See, it is also known as weak stationarity, but it has a constant mean, variance and autocovariance that does not change with time, and other statistics of the total system remains free to change over time, right? Now, what is trend stationarity? Trend stationarity is very much common in the practical field. When you will be doing projects and everything, you will come by this trend stationarity a lot. You need to remove the trend. Now, as we can say, as most of us know that what is trend, and if you don't know, I will suggest you all to check the past 5 years data of the share market, you will understand what is trend. See, the best application of time series can be given in the share market, as I think. Maybe I may be wrong, but till my that my as my experience says, the best application of time series can be done on the share market. Now, coming back to the point, in trend stationarity, it fluctuates around a deterministic trend. Now, while fluctuating, it oscillates around the trend, but the amplitude remains the same. That is, it neither increases nor decreases. So stochastic process from which the underlying trend can be removed and leaving a stationary process. Thus, as I told you before also, that every time when we see a non-stationary process, to make further analysis, we have to make it stationary by using different methods, but we have to make it stationary. Now see, this is a equation of a stationarity. See, f is a function which is mapping from real set to real set, and E is a stationary process. Ft is said to be a trending value. So a stationary process along with a trend value, so it gives a trend stationarity. See here. Here, as we can see, it gives an upward trend. As we can see, it gives us as upward trend. Now, linear trend. So, this kind of equation will give us a linear trend, where t is the time, et is the error time, which is hypothesized to be a white noise. White noise, if I will show you in the later part what is a white noise. And this exponential trend, this is actually exponential trend is most common in the GDP. People of economics background will be familiar with this thing, how this GDP increases exponentially or decreases exponentially. See, difference stationarity. The difference stationarity is the most common, and it's just nothing but we need to differentiate, maybe 3 times, maybe 1 time or 2 times. Actually, it will be, I will show you this when I will be doing ARIMA. It will be the integrated part, which actually depends upon this differencing. Now, what is the use of stationarity? Now, stationarity in time series is like it's like almost a Gaussian distribution in other hypothetical t-test or something, because many have in other part of statistics we have learned that many of the statistical concepts are based on the fact that it is assumed that distribution is a normal distribution. Here also, while conducting time series analysis, many of the statistical assumptions, it is assumed that the series is stationary. The forecasting methods, as we can see here, the forecasting methods assume that the distribution has stationary. Covariance correlations rely on the assumption of stationarity. Now, this is another important point. With the absence of stationarity, it may give a very high R-square value to the variables that are not or at all correlated. This may give wrong predictions, and it will give us wrong reports while analyzing. Actually, it may cost a lot to the company, and you guys may also lose your job if this goes on. Now, jokes apart, statistical test to check stationarity. See, parametric test and semi-parametric root test. Now, the most common of them is the KPSS test and ADF, or augmented Dickey-Fuller test. Now, there is a little difference between Dickey-Fuller test and augmented Dickey-Fuller test, because Dickey-Fuller test is limited only for AR1 process. But when we are getting higher than that, then we need to apply augmented Dickey-Fuller test. I will show you an example of this. See, this is ARP process. It is forming a linear equation depending on the time lag, and this phi is a vector model of coefficients, and p is a non-negative integer. We all know that. Now, AR1 model also applies that the time series establishes a linear relationship with its previous values. Now, what is Dickey-Fuller test? Dickey-Fuller test is conducted to check whether there is a unit root or not. Now, what is unit root? Unit root is actually something that is that will cause disturbance, because in the presence of unit root we cannot say that the series is stationary. See, this is a AR1 process. Now, if we subtract yi minus 1 from both the side, we get this. Now, processing it further, we can say here del of yi, it means that yi minus 1. We all need to remember this del operator. Now see, beta is less than equal to 0. It means that sigma is less than equal to 1, and when beta is equal to 0, it means sigma is equal to 1. So here, as you can see here, this will be the null and alternative hypothesis of Dickey-Fuller test, that is beta is equal to 0 and beta is less than 1. So from here we can say that Dickey-Fuller test is a left tail test. Now, coming to the types of Dickey-Fuller test. Actually, Dickey-Fuller tests are of three types: type 0, type 1 and type 2. In type 0, the equation is considered to have no constant and no trend. Now, what is meant by no constant? It means that the equation doesn't have any kind of intercept. Now, type 1, it has constant but no trend. It means it will have an intercept but it will not have trend. And constant with trend, it means it will have an intercept and also with a trend. See, we have included beta 2i to include this trend part. See, this is the data which I will use to show you the example of Dickey-Fuller test, and this is the null and alternative hypothesis. Let me go to the Excel sheet. See here, this is the Dickey-Fuller test. Actually, I have already solved this here, but I will show you again how to do this thing. See, what I have told you that it is a linear relation with a lag of 1, that is AR1 process. Now, we are going to this data analysis part from regression. Here see, from here till here, it will be our Y range, that is from C3 to C26. Here it's already there. And X range will be from here, B2 to B25. Is it there? Yeah, B2 to B25. Yeah, it's there. So I just click enter here. See, I am only concerned with this t statistic, t stat value. See, this is the standard error and this is the coefficient. Now, if you want to know why the standard error is how we are getting the standard error and what is the difference between standard error and R square, adjusted R square, please comment in the comment section below. I will make a separate video for that. Here in this presentation I have shown the formula of standard error, but people who are experienced in the field of statistics, they will be able to understand, but fresher, they will need some guidance. So if you want, I can make a separate video on that. Now see, this t-stat value is almost 1.92. Now we have to check this with the ADF table. See, coming here, see, I have given this formula S of x, so it is summation of xi, S of y, it is summation of y, S of x is summation of x square, and S of x yy summation of y square, and xy is like this. I have given this formula, total formula, but if you want me for further explanation, you can please comment on the comment section below. Now this is the table of Dickey-Fuller test. Now what we did, we had a constant but no trend. For an n value is 25. For that, and 0.5 level of significance, we have minus 2.5 -1.986. This is the critical value, and the calculated value is -1.902, which is much lesser than this. Sorry, which is actually greater than the critical value, and it lies within the acceptance region. So we fail to reject the null hypothesis that it has no unit root. So we have to accept the null hypothesis that it has unit root, that is this one. Now beta is equal to 0. It has unit root. Now if we want to include trend, suppose in place of x, in place of beta 2, I will just give a2, that is from here till here, right? This time is also considered as trend, because we remember this equation. What was the equation here? Constant and trend. See, I is also there. I told you it will be considered as time, so I am considering this I. Okay, see here. So x variable, it's given this upper x variable. Sorry, I think it will be with constant trend. See, this is time. Actually I have made it label, so it was without a label, so it didn't give this x variable and x variable. But see, it is here, it is given as time. So I am concerned with this value, right? 2.15. And what is the critical value in this case? The critical value here is -3.589, which is much lesser than the calculated value. So we again accept the null hypothesis that there is unit root, that is this one. There is unit root. Now this goes for AR1 process. What happen if the process is of higher order, that is maybe of AR2 or AR3? Then we will have to use augmented Dickey-Fuller test. Now coming, augmented Dickey-Fuller test is this one. Now this is augmented Dickey-Fuller test. This test is for p greater than equal to 1. Actually not greater than, actually p greater than equal to 1. So this is the equation which you need to follow for ARP process, and this is the table. I hope you are all aware of this Dickey-Fuller table. Now I am going back to the Excel sheet to show you how to conduct this augmented Dickey-Fuller test. I will be using the same data. See here. Delta, this is delta profit T, this is equal to delta YT, right? I have also told you what is YT. It is YT minus 1. I have just done that same thing. This is lag 1 and lag 2. Now to develop this equation, see, to develop this augmented Dickey-Fuller test, we just need to go to data analysis. Here input range will be this one. Delta YT, and output will be okay. Labels we don't, okay, just do one thing, we just give the labels also. It will be helpful for us to identify. just leave confidence interval. Let's suppose we are going for a new workbook. Let's feed the residual plots and line plots also. Let's see what. See here. See the line plots. So this is delta t, this is predicted delta t. Actually the predictions are not that good because we need much more data. These are the residual plots. Now coming back to this is intercept and this is delta t. We are concerned about this y of t minus 1, t statistic, minus 1.65. And what is the critical value here? With constant, and we suppose it is no trend, but we have considered a constant. So for 25 the value is minus 2.69. So in this case we can say that this value is much lesser than the calculated value. So we fail to reject the null hypothesis, and again we consider this same hypothesis will be given for the augmented Dickey-Fuller test also, and here this null hypothesis will be again accepted, that is there is a unit root. So friends, if you have any other doubt, please mail me. I have given the mail ID at the starting of this video, and stay blessed. Thank you.